Next, we're going to be making the center cap. We're going to make the details on the back as well, such as these pieces that would hold it in place, and this little circular area that is shown on the back of it in the pictures that I've seen. The overall mesh is pretty simple, but we're going to use subdivisions to make it look a lot smoother and rounder to get a much better look. So let's go back to our Blender file. Let's go to a new layer. I'm going to use the layer just below this one, so I'm just going to click on this layer. Then we're going to go to Create, choose Circle, change the vertices to 8 and press Enter. When you're using subdivisions, 8's a pretty good number. It ends up giving you nice curvature whenever you have a shape that's going to be joined in the center like this and you plan on using subdivisions. 8 is usually a good number to use for your circle amount. That way you can have one center point and quads all the way around, and you end up having less distortion and less pinching in the middle than if you use pretty much any other method. This is one of the better methods if you're using subdivisions and you're trying to make a shape like this that ends up curving out slightly and then curving back in. So 8's a good number, then you merge them at the center, make sure you have all quads, and you end up with pretty nice and smooth geometry in the center instead of other methods which are not quite as good. So we're going to press Tab now. We're going to do R, Y, and then 90 and press Enter. It's going to rotate it 90 degrees around the Y axis. Then we're going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, Alt M at center. So this gives us that center point. We're going to bring it out slightly, just like I showed in the other one. And then we're going to Alt right click on the outside. And actually before we bring this point out, well actually no, it's fine, we can do it like this. We'll just do E to extrude, right click to cancel, S to scale this out slightly. And now we're going to go to edge select and select these edges here. So select every other edge, do delete and choose dissolve edges. So now we have all quads in the center, just like I talked about. Then we can Alt right click on this, E to extrude, right click to cancel, bring this back some because there is some depth here. If I turn this off, there is a bit of depth here where it goes back before it meets up with the back part. And we also want to, on this part, we want to go to face select, Alt right click here, and we want to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring this forward some. That'll give us that outer ridge like I had in this one, where when I turn this on, you get this nice outer circular ridge like this. And I do believe now that we've done that, we can probably get rid of this edge loop here. So I'm going to Alt right click and do dissolve edges, delete and dissolve edges. So that's gone now. Now we can Alt right click, E to extrude, right click to cancel, S to scale this in some. E to extrude, right click to cancel, bring it in on the x-axis some. I'm just using this as a reference because the picture that I used can't be used in a video, so I have to kind of use this model as a reference instead. So we're just going to bring this in slightly, maybe do, well, I don't think I actually wanted to do that, so I'm going to do Control Z. We can do, we're going to have to bring these in again. Let's just do E to extrude, right click to cancel, Alt M at center. So we have this. Now we want to go to edge select and select all these edges around this part. So select one, C for circle select, select all these edges, and do subdivide. That's going to give us the center area. This looks like a good position, so we're just going to Alt right click, Control B, do a small bevel, mouse wheel up once, and then left click when you're happy, Alt right click on the center edge, bring it back slightly to make more of a sort of a mountain, or it comes out a little bit. Now we're actually just going to go to face select, Alt right click here, do I to inset, and do a small inset. That'll give us a supporting edge loop around this outer part, as well as a supporting edge loop up here. And we're going to Alt right click here, we're going to do I, so we can do the same thing here. We want two supporting edge loops on this top part as well, so that's why we did that. Going to go to edge select, select this edge, C for circle select, get all the other ones that are around the center, subdivide, Alt right click, Q, bring this out so we have another supporting edge. So at this point, if we tab to object mode, do Control 3, now we can see we're starting to get that shape of the center cap. And we're also seeing these squares here. That means the shading is not set to smooth yet, so if we just press smooth, those squares go away and we have a nice looking center cap area. And if you go to the top, you can see your modifier. You can turn it on and off like this with the eye. I just did 3 subdivisions because 2 doesn't really seem to be enough. It seems to still have a jagged edge here, so if we do 3 instead, then it looks a lot smoother. It's just Control and the number 3 to turn on your subdivision surface modifier. You can also go to add modifier and subdivision surface. It's the same thing. I just changed my view and my render to 3 and left everything else at default. So the next step is to add in these little clips that would be used to actually physically hold this onto the center of the rim here. So these are pretty simple in terms of geometry. I just started with a cube and just went from there. So we're just gonna go back to our model here, tab into edit mode, turn off your subdivision surface, go to create, make sure your cursor's in the center, do Shift S cursor to center, create a cube, S to scale it down, and then drag it up some. And we can do 3 on the number pad, I guess we're going to need to do. And then we can do S and Y to scale this out some, then S to scale it down, S, Y to scale it out a bit more. And we're going to bring it out some too. We're going to go to face select, Z for wireframe, select this back face and delete it. It's not going to be seen by the camera, so we don't need to have a face back there. So I'm just going to check my reference, see how, looks like this needs to be a bit longer actually and a bit skinnier. So if we select this, select all of it, S then Y to scale it out some, and then S to scale it down some, S and Y to scale it out some. So now we have more of a shape that's similar to the one I had in my reference. So in total we have 6 of these. You can see we have 3 on the left, 3 on the right. So I'm going to do 3 to go to side view. So we're going to rotate this in this direction. Then the correct value for 6, we're going to need to do 30 degrees, I believe. So we're going to need to set this to the 3D cursor. Make sure your 3D cursor is in the center by doing Shift S cursor to center. Do R then -30 and press enter. Don't worry that it's not lining up perfectly with this edge. I don't think it lines up perfectly with this edge on this one either. Yeah, it's a little bit off. And it's fine because once you add in subdivisions, it actually looks like it does line up perfectly once you add in the subdivisions. So even though it doesn't line up perfectly initially, once the subdivisions are added, it does line up quite nicely. So don't worry about that. I think what I may want to do, if anything, I'm going to do Control Z on this. If anything, I think I want to bring this down some on the Z axis. Once you do Control Z, and then do R -30 and press enter, because the other one is a little bit away from the edge, and then when you add subdivisions it's actually right up nice and tight to the edge, so it needs to be a little bit away before you add subdivisions. This is a little bit away, this is maybe a little bit further out, but this is fine. So the next step, we're just going to change this to median point, and we're going to grab it on the x-axis, hold control and snap it to one of these points here to make sure that the bottom vertices are perfectly aligned with these bottom vertices. And we want to select this face and actually bring this out some because it needs to be taller. Something like that maybe. I'm going to check my reference to see. It's actually quite a bit taller on my reference, so maybe like this. I'm just guessing based on what the reference shows. So then what we need to do is do Control R, left click, and drag this up some. Do Control R, left click, and drag this maybe up some a little again. And then we need sort of this triangle effect right here. So what we're going to do is go to Face Select, select this face, E to extrude, right click to cancel. And if we want to move this according to the normal, we can just go to Global and change it to normal instead, and bring this out according to the normal. Then what we want to do is go to Vertex Select, select these two vertices, and press Q, and slide them up until you get them fairly close. Maybe like that is going to be fine. And that'll give us that triangle effect with this little blunted edge. And that's what we want in this case. So now if we turn on our subdivisions, it's not looking correct yet, but it will, don't worry. So you just want to kind of look at how close it is though. Well, actually you can't really tell because it's getting messed up on the corners. So we're just going to turn that off for now. Another thing that I did was add some curvature to this to make it less straight, it's more curved. So I added in 2 more edge loops here. So we'll do that. Do Control R, mouse wheel up, left click, right click. And you'll notice that the arrows for this normal direction is not pointing the way that we want to. So we're going to go to Face Select, select this face. This is really the direction we want all the normals to move in. And in order to do that, one of the easier ways to do that is to go over here into this panel. If it's not open, make sure your mouse is in this area and press N to open up this window. Go to the bottom, left click on Transform Orientations, and then with this face selected, because this is the normal direction we want, we're going to add this plus sign, or click on the plus sign, and then give this a name. So this is like, you can give it whatever name you want, like special 1 is what I called it last time, like special direction. You can call it special direction, I guess. Doesn't really matter what the name is. And then you can left click here and choose special direction, which would be this direction. And the purpose of that is now once we select something other than this face, it's going to keep this direction. So if we were to Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click, you'll notice that the direction is still the same as what it was when we had this face selected. So we can move this perfectly along that face normal, just like what we want it to do. In this case, that's exactly what we want it to do. So you can create your own transform orientations just by going down here and clicking the plus sign once you have something already selected and a different transform selected. So now when we look at it like this, it actually looks like it follows along quite nicely. The curvature of this and the curvature of the circular area looks pretty nice. But you see that our object is not squarish yet. It's all rounded off like we don't want it to be. So to fix that on this model, what I did is just select all the edges, and then you just do a bevel, an edge bevel. So we're going to do the same thing for this one. We're going to tab into edit mode, switch to edge select, and we're going to go around and select all the edges we want to bevel. So all these outer edges, so we've selected all the outer edges. And then you want to go along the top here and select all the outer edges. And then select all these outer edges. I believe I selected those as well. Looks like I did, so select these as well. So we've got all these, and actually I need to select these two as well. So all the outer edges we're selecting at this point. We're also going to want probably these and these. Then we need to go around the other side and do exactly the same thing. Select all these outer edges. And make sure you get these front edges as well, just to keep everything nice and organized. I'm not sure I actually selected those on the original one. It looks like I didn't select the bottom, and you probably don't need to select the bottom now that I'm thinking about it. So we can actually just Alt-right click, or Alt-Shift right click and deselect all the bottom ones, because I don't think we need those at all. Just double check, make sure you have similar selection to mine. I'll just look around so you can kind of tell what I have selected and what I don't have selected. And then you're just going to do Control B, do a small bevel, and then left click, and we'll go back to object mode and take a look at this. So now you have smoother shape here, which looks alright. Looks a little different than this one, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the difference is on this one. I'm just looking to try to figure out. Oh, I think I missed something, so I'm going to do Control Z until this is gone. Turn off this. I missed this bottom edge here, so you want to select this bottom edge too. And then do Control B, and we'll see if this changes things. Makes them look nicer, hopefully. And then you can go to Tools and Smooth Shading. Select this, Smooth Shading. Okay, that didn't do anything. But this looks fine. This is still good. It looks similar, at least, to the other one. Maybe not as precise as this one, because I took a little bit more time on this. But it still looks acceptable, I would say. So this is pretty good for our little clip area. And if we go to side view, or we go to the opposite side view, you can't see the clip, which is good. You don't want to see it on the side view there. I think maybe we could extend this out a bit further. I'm not sure how far mine extended out almost to the edge of this on my original one. So if we want to, we can tab into edit mode, go to face select, turn this off for a second, and we can get these faces here, then do Control plus. So select these three, do Control plus to get the bevels that are around them as well. And then do 3 for side view, turn this on, move it along the normal here until it's closer to the outside edge of the other one, but not beyond it. And that way the clip will have more surface area, and it will be easier to actually hold this piece in place. And we could, if we wanted to, move the rest of it a little bit closer, because it looks like we have a little space here, and I'm not sure if we're supposed to have much space at all. Mine has less on the other one. So if you wanted to, you could select these three, do Control plus, turn this off for a second. And if we're going to do that, we should actually do Control minus and then select these three. So you want to select these three, then select these three, and then do Control plus, and then now you can turn this on so you get a better look. Do 3 for side view, bring this out a little bit until it's almost touching the edge. And you can look around a bit if you want to, so that it's closer to the edge. You see how it's nice and close to the edge. You can get a little closer if you wanted to, just bring it out slightly more. So that's looking pretty nice, I think. I like this. Looks pretty close to what my original one was. So the last step is to actually duplicate this and rotate it around so that we have 6 of them. So we're just going to do 3 for side view, change this to 3D cursor, change this to global, tab into edit mode, do Control L. That's going to select everything. You can also go to select and choose linked right here. So just make sure this is on 3D cursor. Make sure your 3D cursor is in the center. If it's not, do Shift S, cursor to center. Also make sure you're in side view, so you should be in right view by pressing 3 on the number pad. Then do Shift D, R60, and press enter. Then do Shift R, Shift R, Shift R, and Shift R. And that'll give us a total of 6. And they're all perfectly positioned exactly where they should be. So now we can take a look at this. Just tab into object mode and you can take a look at this. And we now have our center cap, as well as the pieces that hold it together, so it's fairly realistic. So we can save this, just go to File and Save.